And then we shall get going as we are at the bottom of the hour here. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to What Keeps You Up at Night, Entrepreneurship During Challenging Times. This is episode 14. Maryam, we made it to 14. Amazing.
Amazing.
We just keep going. So that means this is week 7 here that we're going here. So this is good stuff. So my name is Colin Weston. I am the community leader for Startup Vancouver, which is one of over 40 chapters of Startup Canada across the country. Startup Canada is the voice for the over 3.5 million entrepreneurs that we have in this great country of ours. So with what we do here with this live stream show, we have the ability to be borderless here, and we're not just contained to Vancouver. In fact, not even contained to Canada or North America. Today we have a guest from beautiful Sydney, Australia, our good friend Michael Haynes, who we'll be introducing in a minute. I am quickly going to share my screen here so that we can make some intros, some community announcements, and then we're going to get rolling as we always do. There we go. And as we always start off, kind of take the temperature of how things are going during these COVID times. How's everybody hanging in there? Is everybody doing okay? Is everybody staying mentally and physically active, staying engaged? Michael, we could talk a little bit about what's going on in Australia as far as the COVID situation and social distancing and all that stuff, along with the other things we'll talk about. But here in Vancouver in Canada, we are opening up a little bit step by step. And as we do so, I hope that everybody out there is, as I said, just staying safe and taking care of each other and taking care of yourselves. So with that, I am going to move on. Startup Vancouver. We are most active on social media. If you want to connect with us, you want to find out all the good things that we're doing and the other organizations and events that we support and promote, best to find us at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And within the last few weeks, now that we're recording all these episodes and posting them there, we have our YouTube channel also. So please subscribe to that. You can go and see all of our previous episodes. And if you like this one so much, you want to see it twice, the next day or so, this one will be posted there also. We want to make this an interactive and engaging half an hour of conversation. So if you're joining us today, either through Zoom here or also through Facebook Live, please post your questions because we will ask them for you after we have a brief chat with each one of our 2 guests. Or we'll open up the mic and you can ask them yourself if you so desire. So once again, please be active and participate with us here today. And speaking of today, our 2 amazing guests are Michael Haynes, good friend of mine, who's a B2B startup growth strategist. He's co-written a book called Listen, Innovate, Grow. So he's really helping small to medium-sized businesses along with startups to understand and prosper and grow as far as their B2B marketing and opportunities. And then we also have Faris, Khalifeh, who I've also known for a couple of years. And the amazing things he's doing is a quiet confidence coach. You may ask, what the heck is a quiet confidence coach? I'm not going to explain that. My good friend and Thursday host, Maryam Mobini, is going to be talking to Faris right out of the gate here. And within 8 or 9 minutes, you'll all know all about what a quiet confidence coach is. As always, we do support our charity partner, which is jack.org. And jack.org is Canada's only advocate for mental health awareness for youth all across the country and territories. And we are honored to support them. And the donations that you make through Eventbrite, it's not mandatory, but some of you have been so generous to do that. And today we have one guest that has made a donation. So I will be doing my usual singy shout out at the end of the show for that. So stick around for that if you dare. Listen, Innovate, Grow. I'll be talking to Michael in the second half of the show. And to start things off with Faris, that conversation is going to happen, as I mentioned, with my good friend and Thursday co-host, Maryam Mobini. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to hand it over to Maryam.
Thank you so much, Colin. It's a pleasure to have you all here, Faris. It's so great to have you here. Faris and I met back in 2017 when he was leading the Quiet Leadership meetup groups, and I got a chance to be part of that. He's so amazing at bringing community together, and just, you know, I I didn't know the difference between introverts and extroverts, and I didn't even know there was such thing as ambivert. But he explains it so well. So please tell us more about quiet confidence coach, and just quickly, we might have a perception of what these terms mean, but if you could give us a little bit, quiet confidence coach, one-on-one would be really great.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for the intro and kind words. It's such a pleasure to be here. All right, so an introvert. So yeah, not to go into the details and bore you, on a very high level, introverts, we gain energy from being away from stimulation, whatever stimulates the five senses. So the more we get exposed to stimulation, we get depleted our energy. And extroverts are the opposite. They thrive in stimulation. So being in a crowded place with noise in the background, that's something extroverts enjoy. Introverts enjoy as well, but the energy gets depleted when we're around these situations. So that's the major difference. It's all about energy, where you gain and lose energy. And like you said, there's a lot of misconception. People think introversion equal to shyness, and that's not the case. There's an overlap. There's shy extroverts, there's shy introverts. But shyness and introversion, they're different. Shyness is more about fear of negative judgment and humiliation, and introversion more about where you gain and lose energy. So that's the main difference. I hope I explained that.
Thanks for explaining that. And I think I'm an ambivert, and as a highly sensitive person navigating through this pandemic, and there's so much uncertainty. And what are some of the tips that you have for highly sensitive people, and for those of us in the audience who are not familiar with highly sensitive people and what that means? If you could explain that, and please share with us some of the tools how we can protect our energy in this uncertain time, would be great.
Yeah, great question. And like you said, during this pandemic, in my opinion, from my experience working with clients with different personality types, I noticed that the key indicator that shows if the person is an introvert or an extrovert, the people that found it challenging during this period. Extrovert really struggled being away from being social around people and being exposed to stimulation. And of course, not all extroverts, some extroverts, including my wife. Introverts didn't really get so much challenging times because they're used to the isolation, or not the isolation, away from stimulation. However, there's a key thing here. All right, so I'll distract them with this bottle. Here, Sam. All right, so so for introverts, the struggle actually, including myself, was having the family at home. So for me, I've been working from home for the past 6 years, so I'm used to this working from home and seeing clients through Zoom. But I'm not used to having like Sammy here and my wife and everyone. So that's been a tricky situation, and I got to like adapt and adjust to it. So going back to your second part, which is highly sensitive and how to protect your energy. So highly sensitive, it's different than introversion. Highly sensitive person means you're extra sensitive to the five senses. You pick up on subtle senses or subtle movements, sounds, etc. So if you're, for example, I'm very sensitive to sound. So if I'm sitting in a coffee shop and I don't know, people are chatting in the background, it really bothers me. And but it's different from one person to another. Usually sensitive people, they're more empathetic. They pick up energy from other people. So let's say they go to a meeting or a room and someone in the room is having a bad day, they automatically start feeling that. And if they're not aware of their trait, they might think that this is them. But when you're conscious of who you are and your traits, you know this is not your energy, and then there's tools to work around that. So and you are a highly sensitive person, Maryam. Yeah. Does that resonate?
Yeah, resonate, especially with sound. Oh my God. For me, light as well. I just literally get up and leave the coffee shop. Like, I can't deal with this.
Yeah, it can be challenging. So yeah, there's tools to protect yourself as an introvert or a highly sensitive person. From an introvert perspective, what helps is if you think about it in terms of, and I'm saying in that definition, it's not, of course, my definition, it's the person who coined that term, Carl Jung. And he defined it as the energy piece. So if you know that stimulation or outside environment can deplete you, if you protect yourself from that, you're good. It's all about optimizing your energy and making sure you're at an optimum level, because when you are on an optimum level, you're more productive, more creative, more efficient, etc. Energy is important, as you all know, for everyone, introverts and extroverts. But introverts need to be more conscious of it. So a big one works for me is to try to sit in quiet places. So let's say you have a meeting. That, of course, is stimulating. You go to the meeting, all good. And then maybe after the meeting, you feel your energy is going down. That's okay. Maybe you do the second meeting. But definitely after the second meeting, take like a 15 minutes buffer or a break. Just sit in somewhere quiet. And that really recharges you. And then you can go back and tackle the rest of the things you want to do today. So mini breaks works perfectly. If you want to take it to the next level, meditation really helps. And you know that, Maryam, too. It's so powerful. It was a game changer for me. 7 years ago, I was introduced to meditation. It makes a lot of difference. Journaling works for many introverts, works for me. Because with journaling, you're taking time off and processing your thoughts. And introverts, one of the key traits is reflection and introspection. We thrive on that. Actually, there's a quote I really love by Beth Bilo. She's the author of the book, The Introvert Entrepreneur. She said, self-reflection is like breathing for introverts. And it's true. Like if I don't take my self-reflection or time, my alone time for an hour a day, I don't know what happens. So it's important.
I love talking to you. I can talk to you for hours about all this. And I'm wondering, we have in our audience, we have a lot of entrepreneurs and, and startups. And I know that you do work with a lot of entrepreneurs and startups. And I'm wondering, at what point would they come to you usually? And how do they find you? And I guess that's too many questions there, but I'm just wondering, like, if you could just answer. Just tell me. And at what point would you recommend that they come and work with you? And what are the type of things that you work with them on?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I'm going to answer like maybe a not so popular answer. It depends. So it depends on the person and their needs. And I truly believe when someone is ready, they know when they're ready, and when they're open for support and help, and open to that kind of support. If someone doesn't have that openness, even if they contact a coach, they won't benefit. So I would say when you feel, in my case, if you fear, one, you're not embracing who you are as an introvert, you're not sure what personality type you are, especially as an introvert entrepreneur. People usually, like society and culture, they have that belief that you need to be an extrovert in order to thrive as an entrepreneur, because that's the extrovert way of doing entrepreneurship. However, there's a different way of doing it, where you're capitalizing on your own strength, your quiet nature, your listening skills, your writing skills, all the other stuff that are key. I call them superpowers for introverts. So when you feel your personality type is hindering you, that's maybe a good time to reach out. We talk about how to flip that and reframe it and see how your introversion is a strength and a superpower.
Thank you so much. And I'm just going to open it up to the audience and see if there are any questions, or Colin, if you have any questions for us.
Yeah, we have a minute or so here with Faris before we jump over to Michael. There are no questions within chat, so hey, anybody has anything, attendees, please let us know. But I had a question for you, Faris. Over the last 3 months, have you noticed the type of work that you do, and you've managed to turn this practice into a scalable business, which is, I've been following you for a couple of years. It's great, and congratulations on that and the value that you add. Have you found over the last couple of months with your clients, or perhaps new clients, of how they are dealing and coping with the anxiety and the stress and the uncertainty of these times? So are you finding a spike in your business, or more inbound conversations, or people even inquiring? So how are things gone with your business? Is it expanding, or has it gone quiet?
No, I'm fortunate that coaching world, I guess, didn't get really affected with this. So it's either stayed the same or there was a slight spike. And the reason for that is people during like this time, like you mentioned, are going through an anxiety or uncertainty. They need the support, they need all that stuff. So reaching out to a coach during this period makes sense. And some people utilize this period as a self-reflection period, or re-examining their career or their direction in life. So those kind of people reach out to coaches. So that's probably the spike. Otherwise, it's been the same for me. I've been doing it through Zoom anyways, and so people are used to that platform. So yeah, I'm fortunate that coaching world didn't get affected.
Gotcha. No, I love the term you actually use there with ambivert. I've heard it in a slightly different way, that not an introvert or an extrovert, but an omnivert. When I read Daniel Pink's book, To Sell Is Human, I don't know if you've read that book, and he talks about that. Those people that are in the middle of a bit of both are actually the most, I don't want to use the word productive, but actually even in marketing and sales, whether it's even just selling ideas or being able to project that, as far as they are the sweet spot, where the people that are the extroverts, those loud people, backslapping salespeople, they think they're very good, but they're not. And so I find it very interesting. Those ones in the middle are some of the most successful people that we have, because they've got that balance of skill sets and character traits.
I agree. Yeah, ambiverts, it can be like a strength, but also introverts in some studies say they could be better at sales and leadership because of their quiet nature, active listening, and they're wizards at preparation. But other studies, like the one from the book Sell as a Human, talks about ambiverts, and there's so many studies to back that up. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's a great book too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I see that, Maryam, you put some links where people can get a hold of Faris. I did also. So we have that. So I'm going to quickly now turn it over. Well, first of all, Maryam, Faris, thank you for that. I learned a ton. That was really great stuff. Both of you hang on here, of course. And now I'm going to flip it over. We're going to go, is it 19 time zones away? I think it's 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. He hasn't had a cup of coffee yet. I don't know how he does it, but my good friend and B2B marketing growth strategist and expert, Michael Haynes, is joining us today. Michael, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me, Colin. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So, hey, I want to start it right off here. Michael, why don't you tell people, first of all, what you do and why you do it, and then I'll drill down to some questions of how you're dealing with these COVID times.
Sure. So, Colin, my business is called Listen, Innovate, Grow, and I'm all about working with my peeps of SMEs and startups to help them acquire and retain and grow business customers. So working with them fundamentally around their marketing and sales strategies to acquire those business customers and build and grow their businesses. I'm very passionate about seeing my peeps of startups, SMEs to really succeed. I had my time in big corporate, served a lot of purpose, but I felt it was time to move on. And I think there's just lots of opportunity in the world of B2B that can really enable SMEs, entrepreneurs, startup founders to really achieve what they want to achieve if they know how to navigate and work with business customers. Massive opportunities for them.
Awesome, good stuff. Good, thanks for encapsulating that for us very succinctly there. So hey, that is not an Aussie accent you have. So I know, like me, you are from the beautiful city of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So you are certainly a global citizen. So let's start this. I'm going to start it off with like big macro type of question here, because you have clients in Asia, Australia, the US, and Canada. Over the last 3 months, or especially that first month or so, what were you seeing through the lens of B2B that you see things through? What were you seeing? What was freaking people out? What were people then seeing as opportunities in the B2B world?
Great question, Colin. So the month of March, April. So from a startup perspective, I was extremely busy because there were lots of startups in Asia and the Middle East that everyone seemed to have a learning solution to help teachers and professors. So all sorts of learning solutions that I was working with different startups, addressing whether or not those solutions were meeting the needs. So it was very busy from that perspective. From the SME side of things, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of people very stressed, uncertain what to do, a lot of indecisiveness. So March, April was very much people just trying to get information and try to figuring out what they need to be doing. Here in Australia, we flattened the curve and things are somewhat under control, and they're trying to kickstart restart a country rather. However, the borders are shut, and so I'm landlocked here until probably the middle of next year, probably later, as all international travel is banned. but they're trying to restart the economy here in Australia. But as you said, I do work globally, and like Faris, I do a lot of work on Zoom. So I work with clients all over. So right now I'm finding that particularly from an SME side of things, people are starting to, they want to get things moving. They need to start generating revenues. They need to be thinking about how to take their businesses forward. Next Wednesday, the 1st of July here in Australia is a new financial year. So lots of people are now thinking, okay, what do we need to do? We've done enough sitting around and providing information content, but now we need to move the dial. We need to get things moving forward. So there is some appetite to really wanting to take things forward.
Right, right. Thanks for that. And I have watched you over the last month or so, just especially through LinkedIn, because you're incredibly active there, especially giving back as a thought leader. Back in January, before you came here in February, when we can still do that, it seems like 20 years ago now that
Yes, the old world.
A different world, absolutely. That you were part of our Van Mentor meetup and with Startup Drinks, and you just gave back tremendously there. But in January, I was back and forth with you, and it's like, hey, we're going to jump on a Zoom call so we can organize this thing. And you're like, what's a Zoom call? And look at you now. It's like, you're like Mr. Zoom call over the world. And now it's, all joking aside, it's like a fundamental tool that you have. So with that, I want to segue and ask this question. What are you, with your business and what you do, what are you doing more of? What are you doing less of? What are you doing that's new that you didn't do before? And what are you not doing at all?
Okay, so Colin, I was always, I do a lot of work with a venture capitalist group in Toronto, mentoring startups coming from Asia and the Middle East into Canada and the US. So I have been doing a lot of work on Zoom, mentoring with clients. So working from an online capacity is something I was always doing already. And I was looking to raise the bar towards the end of this year. Now with the COVID situation, it's moved that forward. So I'm now transitioning, very much practicing what I preach. I've seen a big appetite with SMEs or SMBs as they call them in the US. So I'm going to be having more of a focus in servicing service-based SMEs and SMBs in terms of how they acquire, retain, and grow business customers. And I'm also moving away from doing the work. So typically people knew me as Michael's the one that will, do your customer research, do your competitor analysis, write the strategies. I'm now taking an advisory role whereby I will work with senior leaders. So your CEOs of your SMEs, their heads of sales and marketing. I will advise them on strategy. I will facilitate their workshops, the strategy workshop, their action planning sessions, but I'm no longer getting into the detail so that I can work on a more scalable manner. And so I can also spend more time doing things like podcasts and interviews and more thought leadership as well. So I've done that pivot from doing a lot of doing to more of an advisory role. And there's going to be more of a focus on the SME entrepreneur side of things for the balance of the year.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, to circle Faris back into here, would you consider yourself, Michael, an extrovert, introvert, or an omnivert, an ambivert?
I would have said an extrovert before this call, but now listening to Faris talk, I might have to rethink that. Yeah, so maybe perhaps I'm a bit middle of the road, I think. I'm very much a people person and can be very much out there, but I also can enjoy my own company, my own time as well. So yeah, so maybe I'm a bit more middle of the road after listening to Faris. So yeah, he's maybe reevaluate that, so.
It's interesting, usually when I explain the difference, people, extroverts tend to say, oh, maybe I am an introvert or an ambivert. To find out what you could do, do one of the personality type assessments. There's the Myers-Briggs, the most famous, or if you want to do a free, quick one, there's 16 personalities.
Okay, I'll definitely do that.
Let me know the outcome.
Yeah, for sure.
Curious.
Absolutely. You have me thinking now, Faris. Like,
Good stuff. And quickly, Michael, before I turn it over to Maryam to see if there's any questions from our attendees or if she has any questions, or if Faris does also. Michael, of course, being in the middle there, as you said, you are, I've seen you in action. You love to engage with people in real life. Having to spend this much time at home now, how have you managed to make sure that not only physically, but also mentally that you are not experiencing anxiety, depression, anything like that to make sure that you're staying healthy? What are you doing?
A couple of things. I have been on Zoom a lot, and I've actually quite enjoyed it because I've had an opportunity to engage and meet In addition to using it as a communication tool with friends and family, I have been meeting some new colleagues from around the world. I was on a call earlier this week, for example, about live streaming with people from Los Angeles, New York City, Melbourne, and Vancouver. So I've been getting a fair bit of interaction, and I do find for me, Zoom is a great way to still have that face-to-face interaction. So that's been really good. I'm a big fitness fanatic, so I've been doing lots of exercise, and fortunately the gyms have opened up here as of last week, thank goodness, because I do love to eat. I do love to cook as well. So it has been good that the gym is there so I can actually go a little bit more hardcore with the weights and cardio as well. So I've been trying to keep a bit of a balance. I limit my amount of news that I watch as well to only about 20 minutes in the morning on the ABC, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation's news, and then that's it. Because I think being positive and having a proper mindset is very important in this environment where I'm trying to work with clients, I'm trying to practice what I preach and pivoting my business. I need to be in the zone, in the mindset. So I don't do a lot on social media, like my Facebook, I haven't really used it, and very limited in terms of news that I watch, to only 20 minutes from 8 a.m. to 8:20, that's it.
I think that's a really great strategy too. It really compartmentalize because it's so easy with what's going on in the States, globally, to just go down that rabbit hole and get in a kind of a dark place. So that's probably a good thing to turn the tap off there. I have a couple minutes left, so I want to turn it over. Hey, Maryam, do we have any questions from our attendees, or do you have anything you'd like to ask Michael?
Yeah, we don't have any questions, but it's a question for Michael and Faris. Obviously, we're all using Zoom, but I'm wondering, what are the other collaborative tools that you have been using in the past 4 months? And have you, okay, I'll just ask that. I have a tendency to ask too many questions.
For me, Zoom has been the big one. And then a number of my colleagues have been doing a lot of things on LinkedIn Live. So been jumping on quite a few live streams. So those are probably the main ones. A couple clients do use Slack in terms of, for project management, those kinds of things. But really, yeah, it's been Zoom and I think LinkedIn Lives that really have been the two main, I guess, technology, in addition to email, of course, that I've been using.
Great, thank you. How about you, Faris?
Same, yeah, Zoom, Slack, and next week I'm venturing into lives with my podcast. So let's see how that goes.
Oh, amazing.
Stuff.
I'm always so curious to know what tools everyone using to collaborate or brainstorm. I've found that Miro and Mural has been such great tools for brainstorming, so those have been really great. Colin, do you have any other questions or?
Yeah, I just want to ask one more for Michael here before we wrap up here. Now that you've had 4 months to kind of gather some data, step back, take a deep breath, look into your crystal ball, my friend. Where do you see like one big opportunity over the next, whether it's 1 year, 3 years, maybe even the way things are changing in B2B business, where there's going to be, where do you think there could be explosive growth? And I put you on the spot here, buddy, but I'd like to hear what you think.
Well, from a couple perspectives, I think if you're looking from an industry perspective, technology is a big area. McKinsey did a study a couple weeks ago looking at the propensity, the likelihood to spend moving forward post-COVID environment. Strong appetite in B2B, but in technology, very strong appetite there. I think there's a lot of opportunity, I think generally for B2B product and service providers that are going to be really good at really listening, understanding their customers, their buyers, because it's a big need. I've been monitoring quite a bit what business buyers are looking for, and it's all about information, insights, advice, guidance. They're looking for decision confidence to know what to do, how to go about doing so, and they want help and support doing so. So those providers that can really demonstrate the expertise and show those insights and how they're going to help work with those organizations to get where they need to go, if they're really good on those active listening skills, those are the ones that are going to succeed. And there's a big gap in that capability amongst sellers, because there have been a lot of studies around B2B sellers, where they're strong at, where they're weak at, and one of the weakest areas is active listening, and that's the #1 skill set that business buyers are now looking for.
Oh, and I hear introverts and omniverts are pretty good at that listening piece there, Faris, if I understand correctly. It's one of their superpowers.
Exactly. And like you said, with listening, you understand the client needs, wants, insights, their pain points, everything. It's so important.
Yeah.
Stuff.
And it's very critical in this environment. And that's really what business buyers are looking for quite heavily. So it's a skill set that's often overlooked, but it's going to be paramount now. And particularly in this environment where we're doing more of this online, it's going to be absolutely essential.
And I believe empathy as well, right? Active listening and empathy, we're up there.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, hey, we can go on for another hour here, but we are at the top of the hour. So let's wrap it up here for today. I'd like to try to keep it to half an hour when we can. Before I do my musical shout out, which I will be doing right now, I do want to thank both Faris and Michael, and Maryam again, as always, my co-host on Thursdays. Amazing job. Always learn something new from you and also my guests. Michael will be joining us again in a few weeks' time, July 22nd. We're just nailing down all the details with that, but it's going to be our second installment of our Can Startup Stories, which is our virtual version of Van Startup Stories that's been very successful. And in July 22nd, we are going to be celebrating Black entrepreneurs. And Michael has been gracious enough to join us then to tell us his personal story and his entrepreneurial journey there as part of Black Lives Matter, and we do want to support that in the best possible way we can. So Michael, thank you for step up for that and tell us and share your story with us on that. Okay, so before we go, here we go. And as usual, it goes something like this. So before I do, I have Maryam. I've been working on a new song too, so I'm not going to, it's going to be a one-trick song pony here. So we could have something new next week. I'll practice over the weekend and then I'll bust it out. But the one that we have goes something like this. Nice donation by you. Jack.org says, thank you. You are awesome, Michael Haynes. Yeah, Michael, that's you, buddy. Nice donation by you.
Thank you.
There we go.
I love the timing. That was great.
There we go. Working on it. So everybody have a great weekend. Happy Friday, rest of your Thursday. But before we go, as I always like to do, Maryam, I'd like to turn it over to you for the last word today.
Thank you so much, Colin. It's always a pleasure to be hosting this show with you. And I would like to thank Michael and Faris to be our host today. Our guest today and hosts. And you can find us on the Startup IVR YouTube channel and also on social media. Just look for @Startup IVR. And thank you. We'll see you on Tuesday at 12:30 and Thursday at 12:30. See you then.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Great. Thank you.
Bye.